Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Stately Office Hours. We do this the same time every week. Well, it's the same time in the US every week.
Yeah.
For us Europeans and other people whose daylight savings has changed recently, it is an hour earlier for us, but we should all be back in sync next week.
Mhm.
And what we do at these office hours is we discuss what we've been working on at Stately, and we answer any questions that you have or respond to any feedback that you have. And we've got quite a bit to talk about this week. So why don't we start off little introductions to each of us and just talk about what we've been working on for Stately this week. So I'm Laura Kalbag, and I do developer and designer relations at Stately. And this week, I've been working on all sorts of things, but I've been working on trying to use a lot of David's front-end masters workshop to see what we can use from that to make great documentation, because it's a great workshop. And I've had quite a lot of fun working through that myself. And we've also been working on the landing page design for stately.ai. So that should be coming to your screens very soon. And we'll have a nice landing page that explains more about what we're working on and what you can do with the tools that we're building. And what else? And I've been doing a little bit of branding, odd bits and bobs, little bits of design. So David, who are you and what have you been up to?
Hi, I'm David. I'm the founder of Stately, creator of XState. And yeah, I'm very excited for those landing page designs. We got some initial designs and they're looking great. We're going to be using lots of state chart elements in there. My focus has primarily been on the editor. So you saw a preview last week. And if you missed it, then please go check out the last week's office hours, because it was really fun to demo it. And we are working on so much more than what you saw in that demo. Specifically, we're working on Canvas interactions and making it really feel like a full-featured design tool, but a design tool that actually outputs code, or goes the other way around, goes from code to design. So a lot of exciting stuff there, and that's been my main focus.
So following around in the order that we're appearing on the screen, we'll go to Farzad next. Who are you and what have you been up to?
Hey, I'm still the same person as last week. I'm Farzad, an engineer in Stately. Same as David, we've been all more or less focusing on the visual editor to get it out of the door for the first beta testers. And I've been quite around the editor, like been doing a lot of small things here and there. Me and Matthias went through a lot of QA on the improvement on the performance of the visual editor. And we did a lot of style tweaking to make it really, feel like home to designers and developers, and a lot of other details that we don't want to bother.
And last but certainly not least, Anders, Matthias.
I'm also a junior developer at Stately, and yeah, for the last week I've been working on some small tweaks to the editor, working on some interactions, performance improvements together with Farzad and stuff like that. So all over the place, essentially.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of hands on deck this week.
Yeah.
If you have any questions that you want to ask us, you can always ask us. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can ask us in the YouTube comments. If you are watching us on Twitter, you can use the hashtag #StatelyOfficeHours, because now we are broadcasting to Twitter as well. Or if you are part of our Discord, and if you want to join our Discord, you can go to discord.gg/XState. And there we have a dedicated office hours channel where if you have any questions and you want to put them in there, I'll pick those up as well. Now, this week, we asked everyone a question about what are the most interesting things you've used state machines for? And I mean, there's a huge amount of options here that you could use state machines for infinite number of things, but we were interested to see what people in the community were using them for. So David, you've got plenty of examples that people have shared with us.
I sure do. So this was a question and the wonderful graphic by Laura. What are the most interesting things you've used state machines for? Now, typically state machines are, used for, we've seen a lot of usage on the front end, some on the back end, but we were looking for both normal everyday usage, but also interesting use cases where we'd be like, oh, wow, like we didn't think to, use it that way. And we got a lot of really cool replies here. For example, well, there's this pizza emoji. This is for our own Farzad. Yeah, I do want to mention that we are creating, a lot of tools that are using state machines themselves, like with XState. Also replacing the band-aids and paper clips, orchestrating the full screen drag and drop uploader. And that's an important point too, because state machines are, very useful when you sort of realize it later that, all right, my logic has gotten really complex. So, state machines really help you organize that. One of my favorite Twitter accounts is this Vaguely Reassuring State Machines by Kate. And she does a lot of really cool experiments with state machines. These are generated by a bot. And I think it was Halloween in the United States, or I think around the world. I don't know where Halloween is, but
the rest of us have Halloween as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just wondering. And there were, I don't know where they are, but there were like spooky. Yeah, there we go. Like spooky state machines. And so these were pretty cool. And so a fun experiment that I've seen people do is take these auto-generated state machines and convert them to regexes, which is pretty interesting. And it's a fun thought experiment because regex can be converted to state machines and vice versa. I mean, they essentially are textual representations of state machines. So I think that, if you're not following Kate or Happy Automata, please do. It'll bring some joy to your day. So other things that we've seen state machines in are animations. Santi on our Discord has created a bunch of animations for, I think, this website that they're working on. State machines are also really useful for orchestrating animations, especially when you have multi-parts. And he also mentioned that these animations are something that it's not just a timeline animation. It's not just do this, then do that. The animation and the sequencing can change, like you see here, based on what the user does. So it is events-based, and he is tying XState with GreenSock in order to do that. So
wow, so cool.
Yeah, thought that was pretty cool. Also, in Sukima wrote a couple things about how they're using state machines, for logic and also for forms. And I thought it was really interesting. I actually really like the use of this. Is called Plants UML, and it's a graphic UML tool. So, Stately Viz is not the only visualizer for state machines. You also have this one, auto generates this layout for you, and you could clearly see what's happening. I think this is describing some sort of it's a parser. So there's that sequence diagram. So just a lot of really cool use cases of using state machines for parsers, and also state machines for forms here. You could see parallel states, compound states, and this is for IPv6. There we go. So yeah, that was cool. Again, more animations. I saw this Stripe machine by Jacob Paris. Really cool, multi-step. You enter your credit card details on the front, and then you enter the security code on the back, and then or actually your email address, the credit card details, the security code, and then you submit it. You see the state machine here. This is using the old visualizer. And so, we could see that we have the contact, the card, and success, and also whatever Stripe does over here. So
that is so useful.
Yeah.
Just being able to visualize that whole process, it makes it so much easier to understand at a glance.
Yeah, and in fact, if you dive through the Stripe documentation, there are mentions of state machines and how you would describe a payment process flow as a state machine. So definitely in the payment space, state machines are useful. There was another one that was actually not listed, but I found really interesting. it's using temporal and XState. And so this is for validating an electronic signature. The process is you would upload a file and then press save, sign the document, and put your email address in. And yeah, so it's using both temporal and XState. I recommend you check out this repo. I'll post a link to it in the chat. Yeah, if you wanted to play around with how XState and temporal can work together. In fact, they say, thanks to XState, the code we have to write is more predictable and prevents race conditions to happen. Now, if you don't know what temporal is a way of creating workflows. It sort of like provides the wiring for the infrastructure for you, so you don't have to think about fault tolerance and reliability and handling timers and things like that. So temporal is really useful, and it is agnostic as to what you use as the layer. You could use just plain code, like the layer for actually implementing the workflows. And so this person decided to use XState. So really interesting. Definitely check it out. There were quite a few more too. Jack's team made a bundling solution in which they're using XState with Rollup to sort of orchestrate, like it says here, the loading and transformation of assets. So not front end, I guess you could consider it sort of back end, sort of middle end. Yeah, definitely a really cool use case. Matthias has been using it for a video player demo, which is awesome. Similar to the media player demo in the front-end masters course. Experimental ECMAScript parser, just Konami code. That's a really cool one. So also an almost linear chatbot. I actually love this because chatbots aren't just linear. You might have some responses that might loop back or, choose different just states to go to. So state machines are a great fit for chatbots. Yeah, definitely a lot to look at here. And if you go to the resources page of our documentation, there's just a ton of stuff which shows not only like how to use XState in different contexts, but just the different use cases of XState as well. So if you have a few hours, or I guess a few days, because there's so many of these, definitely go through these resources and hopefully you'll find some inspiration.
And maybe for people who are joining this and actually don't know what state machines are, do you think that we could explain briefly? We do have a little intro in our documentation that I will just put a link to. And I'll show a link on screen as well. That's a no-code introduction. But David, how would you just, in your briefest possible way, explain what a state machine is, what state jobs are?
So I'll actually pull up the illustrations that you made here. States represents behaviors of your application. So for example, like when you're submitting a form, there's a state where you have the form, which can be filled out. Then there's a state where the form is submitting, and then the user can do different things. Like they probably shouldn't be allowed to edit the form while it's submitting. And same thing, like when you have a form that's submitted, that's going to have a different behavior than before you submitted the form, because obviously you can't edit the form, you can't submit again. And so the behaviors describe just the different ways that an application can behave. And so over here, we have a dog that's asleep and awake. So the dog behaves differently when it's asleep and awake. I know with my dog, that's definitely the case. Wild when they're awake, and when they're asleep, completely peaceful.
Whether they pay attention to a ball or not.
Yeah, or a treat. But yeah, of course, they can move between states. And so that's what is known as a transition. So and a transition is an event. So something that happens that is the stimulus for going from one state to another state. And so state machines are basically made of these states, events, and transitions. There's a finite number of states, a finite number of transitions, and also the state machine is deterministic. So you know that whenever you're in one state and a transition says, when this event happens, now we're in this state, that's always going to be the case, and you could statically determine that. So a state machine is just the combination of those three things. But definitely read this article, Introduction to State Machines and State Charts by Laura. I think it explains even like the concepts of state charts, so not just state machines, really, really well.
That was the aim of it, and it's what I've learned from working with the rest of you as well, because really I like the idea of it beforehand, but I really didn't have an in-depth understanding of what state machines and state charts were before I started working with the rest of you. So it's been really interesting.
Yeah.
And now I can see uses for them everywhere.
Yep.
Now, John Lombardo says, there was someone on the Discord trying to get XState FSM running on Espruino. Perfect fit for reacting to sensor events on a microcontroller. That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. So embedded electronics are, great use cases for state machines. And XState FSM, if you don't know, it is a tiny, and I do mean tiny, it's about 1 kilobyte in size, library for describing finite state machines in the exact same way that you would do it in XState, except without nested states, without final states, without parallel states. So without any of the state chart parts, just the finite state machine parts, which for some use cases is really all you need. And
for a use case like this, where you need it to be teeny tiny to even fit on the device in the first place.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And especially when you only have like a megabyte at most or something that you could, I haven't worked with microcontrollers that much, but I'm just guessing that you really don't have that much space to work with. And also the less space, the better, because you want these tiny devices to be quick. So yeah, that's a really good use case. So please join our Discord and check out how FSM is being used with microcontrollers.
Just a quick reminder to anyone, if you have any questions, you can ask us in the YouTube comments or tweet us using hashtag #StatelyOfficeHours, or post us in our Discord. You can join our Discord at discord.gg/XState, and we have an office hours channel in there. I think folks are messed up by the time zone changes this week. It's a quiet one.
Yeah.
Oh, but that reminds me, today is our very own Matt Pocock's birthday. So that's why Matt's not here today. It's not because he's unwell, it's because he's celebrating. So we hope you have a good birthday, Matt.
Yep. And I'll put that on the screen. Yep. Happy
Hopefully
birthday,
he's
Matt.
not watching this stream.
Yeah. Or, maybe he'll watch it later. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He better be catching up.
Yeah. But yeah, so like Laura mentioned earlier in the stream, just recapping a few things to look forward to. First of all, the landing page. We're working slowly on that, and we're gonna probably get that up soon, like within a month or so. Also, we are starting the beta access for the editor. Still have a few things to tweak before we release that into the wild, but yeah, we're going to start inviting more and more people, and next year invite even more people. So
and thank you to everyone who added their names to our list by joining the Discord and just mentioning their names in the office hours. If you do want to be part of the beta, if you want to just post on any one of the channels, if you just mention that's what you want to do, we'll make a note of your name. Yeah,
that and documentation updates. I think that we're going to be getting a blog soon, because I think, collectively we have like a couple dozen blog topics that we're just dying to write. So it's going to be great to have a place to have all of those in one place.
And we've got the basics of the blog already together, haven't we, Fuzz? I've not got too long to get that done.
Sorry, what was the question?
It's to say that we've got the blog is in good progress. We're nearly there.
Yeah. I'm currently struggling with, because we went with Next.js and MDX for the implementation, and I'm dealing with how to get the feed reader automatically by compiling MDX to content, which is not really straightforward, and the solutions that you find online are not working. So I was wondering if we made a mistake.
Well, we can
Yeah.
always review it and see if there's anything, another platform.
Yeah, I
that
mean,
might be
we'll get
better
it
for that.
working. We'll get it working. Yeah, it's just and the feed reader is not a priority right now. The content is the priority.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, RSS is great, but we don't have to have it straight away.
Yeah, and we're gonna cross-publish on dev.to. I don't know if we're ever gonna do Medium or not, but probably those powerful platforms we're gonna cross-publish there too. So you don't have to come to our engineering blog per se, but please do.
Yeah. Please do. It makes us happy when
Yeah.
our design work pays off.
We don't track
Frankie-
you.
No, that is very true. Frankie Snow says, can we dream of an XState conference one day?
I would love to. I haven't seen a conference that's been focused on, purely state management, state orchestration tools, but there's a lot of things to learn from many different communities here, and even different languages. So not just JavaScript, but, Swift and backend languages and just all of that. I would love to have a conference where, we could just get together and talk about, this is how we orchestrate state, this is how we manage state, and even some unique solutions and exploration of different dev tools. So I would personally love to have one. Call it the Stately Summit or something if we want alliteration.
That's a cool name.
Yeah,
Sounds like we should have it up a mountain.
we should. I think that's a requirement now.
John says that he had the same issue with the Next.js and MDX on Wednesday night. So maybe we should be chatting with John about whether he managed to fix it.
We can wait for him to fix it for us.
Yeah.
It's the beauty of open source. Yeah.
Bruno says, I have one question. In the Front-End Masters XState React course, David mentioned about a relationship between the actor model and the UML sequence diagram. Can he expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, sure. So sequence diagram is in, I'll actually try to pull it up on the screen. So let me just share my screen real quick. But yeah, sequence diagrams are for actors. It's not like there's a relationship between them. It's that it's literally their purpose. One of my favorite tools for authoring sequence diagrams is called swimlanes.io. And so each one of these boxes over here are called actors. Coincidence? No. I mean, they're the exact same thing. So when one actor sends another message to another actor, you have this line over here. And I'll zoom in if I can. You have this line that shows that message being sent to the actor. And of course, actors can also send messages to themselves. And so whenever you see one line from one actor to another, this is going forward in time. So this is sent first, then this is sent, and then you have another message being sent from 2 to 3, and then 2 is sending a message back to 1. So you can imagine, for example, in OAuth flow, you have many different actors. You have the client, which is talking to some auth service, which might be talking to some auth server in the back end. And that auth server has to talk back to the auth service, which has to talk back to the client. And then the client has to send the code. And so that just goes back and forth. And so sequence diagrams are a really good way to represent the, I guess you could call it the timeline of the sequence of events that are occurring between actors. So yeah, that's what a sequence diagram is.
Cool. And you make sure if you go to Front-End Masters, you can find now 1, 2, 3 courses by you on XState.
Yeah.
The most recent one, as I found, you have to actually go to the replay section because they've not yet edited it up and added the chapters and fancy stuff, but you can still watch it in its unedited glory on the website.
Yeah. And the edited version should be up in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Typically.
I'm sure they'll be pretty quick. Well, I don't think we've got any other questions this week. Does anyone else have anything they wanted to share this week?
I think that's all.
Yeah, well, I think we had a jam-packed demo-filled one last week, so I think we needed a bit of a quieter one this week.
Yeah.
Well, it was lovely seeing you all again, and we will catch you again at the. Got one more question. Let's let Hader get in there.
Yeah.
Since XState is fully compatible with SCXML, is it possible to import/export SCXML using the visualizer or editor?
Short answer is not yet. And we talked about this in previous office hours, but the compatibility with SCXML, it's not like an hourly facing compatibility where you could just upload an SCXML document and spit out a state machine. That is very possible, though, because we are essentially doing that within the tests in XState itself. But yeah, we haven't exposed that functionality yet. And there's also me and Mateusz were talking about just like things that we would love to change with SCXML, just because SCXML is a little bit frozen in time, and I think there's a lot of things that can be improved with it. And Mateusz is of the same opinion. But yeah, it'd be cool if we were a superset of SCXML. But yeah, in the future, this might be possible. Definitely feel free to suggest it either in the issues or the discussions on the Stately AI/XState Viz repo. Yeah, and we could talk about it.
So what are the kind of use cases that people would be using SCXML for that they would want to do the import and export with?
Well, I would think that with SCXML, it's really if you have existing machines that are created with SCXML. Yeah, because I don't think I mean there definitely are people who are just creating new machines with SCXML or with XState, but yeah, as far as use cases, something I thought about a while ago was that SCXML can be used cross-language because there are different interpreters for different languages for SCXML. So that could be potentially a use case.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
John says, hope the merch shop comes soon after the new Stately homepage.
Oh, yeah. That'd be fun.
It's all coming soon.
Yeah, we'll have more stickers, maybe some apparel. We'll see.
Right, well, let's wrap it up for this week then. And we will catch you all the same time, depending on your time zone, next week. Just remember, if you go to YouTube now, you'll be able to see the upcoming live streams for the next month, and you can actually subscribe to be notified about them. And it will always tell you how long the stream is away from you relative to your current time. So I find that quite useful if I need to know whether it's an hour away. And we will see you all next week. Bye-bye.